Hello students, welcome to this video lecture series of C programming language. Up to this we learned iteration statement, decision making statements. So in our previous video we learned some iteration statement which are while loop, do while loop and for loop. In this video we are going to learn about array. So what is array actually? Okay, see, up to this lecture we know that every variable is capable to store only one value at a time. Okay, so suppose if you declare one variable, that is int x, okay, so x is capable to hold only one value. Whatever value you want to store in x, okay, that value is of integer type and x can hold one value at a time. If you want to store another value into x, suppose again you want to store 200 into x, what will happen? The first value will flush out from the memory and in that memory address the new value will be stored. Okay, so an array is a group of elements with a similar type. Means if you want to store more values in a variable, see, for example, if you want to store the marks of 6 subject, okay, so here I am writing 6 subject. So for every subject marks you need to declare a different variable, that is subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, subject 4, subject 5, okay, and subject 6. Okay, suppose if you want to store the telephone number of an employee, so how you will store? So you need to declare the tel, okay, how many times? Suppose if you want to store the telephone number of 10 employees, so that time you need to tell telephone number of employee 1, EMP 1, telephone number of employee 2 and so on. Okay, so for every value you need to declare a variable. Okay, suppose if you want to store more and more value, 100 values, so you need to declare the 100 variable, okay, which is very complex task in C programming language. So see, suppose the concept of array. Array actually used to store multiple values in a variable, in a one variable. How? See, okay, so array is a group of elements. Means if you store 10 values in a variable, that means you are going to define the 10 elements. Okay, so array is a group of elements with a similar type. So here you have to declare the array variable. Okay, so array variable, so array is a, what is array? So array is a group of elements with similar type. Okay, with similar type. What does it means? Means if you want to store more than one value in a same variable, so you need to declare the variable as an array variable. Okay, so array variable is declared with its size. Okay, suppose if you want to store the marks of a student. Okay, so here I am int, okay, student means S. Okay, so here the student is S and I am going to store the marks of 6 subjects. So here I am going to store the 6 value of a student. Okay, so these value must be integer. Okay, so there are 2 types of array. All whatever values you are going to store in this variable, all should be of integer type. Okay, so array is of 2 types, that is numeric numeric array and character array. Okay, character array. Okay, in numeric array you can store the values of type int, float, double. Okay, and in character you can store the char value. Okay, for example, if you remember, I taught you one example, that is check the enter character is vowel or not. So when you want to store the character value, so that time the array must be of char type. Okay, array variable must be of char type. But if you want to store the numeric value, that value may be of integer type or float type or double type. So that kind of variable, that array type is a numeric array. Correct? So I hope you understand this. Now we will see the types of array. So in C there are 3 types of array. Okay, so there are 3 types of array. First is one dimensional array. One dimensional array. Second is two-dimensional array. Dimensional array. And the third type is multi-dimensional array. So there are 3 types of array. Today we are going to learn that is one dimensional array, which is also known as single dimensional array. Okay, so the dimensional is defined in a square bracket. Okay, so the dimensional is nothing but the subscripted value. Okay, so when you use this, means dimensional is defined in a square bracket. Okay, so square bracket. Okay, so square bracket in such a way. Okay, so now you are going to declare the size of your variable. Whenever you are going to declare the size of array, or whenever you are going to declare the array variable with the single subscripted value, means in a single square bracket. Okay, it is also known as subscripted. Okay, so subscripted value. Okay, so when you use this square bracket in a single subscripted, in single square bracket, it is known as single dimensional array. For example, if you want to store the same example we will take here. If you want to store the marks of a students, okay, the marks of 6 subjects, you are going to store the marks of 6 subjects. So how many values you are going to store? You are storing 6 values of 6 subject marks. Okay, so that time you need to you declare the variable as an integer, and the array variable name is as. Okay, and you are using the single subscripted bracket, means single subscripted value. Suppose if I declare as a 5, that means you are able to store the 5 values in this array variable. Okay, why? Because you are defining this is the size of your array. The single subscripted bracket, means the square bracket, must contain the size, and the size means the number of elements. Okay, so size is nothing but the number of elements, and every element is refers by an index number. Every element of an array is refers by an index number. How? See, the example in this example we are taking one variable as. See, the array variable. So you have to follow, while declaring the array variable name, you have to follow all that rules which you followed at the time of declaring the simple variable in your C programming. Okay, so that means you know this array variable is not a keyword. Okay, so it may be alphanumeric, it is not a numeric, then the space is not you cannot give the space between the variable name. So that whatever you followed in, whatever rule you followed in, follow while declaring the variable name, you have to follow all that rules while declaring, same as in array variable name. Okay, now see what I told you, array variable always declare with the subscripted value. Okay, and the subscripted value always define in a square bracket. Okay, when we use a square bracket, single square bracket means it is known as single dimensional array, or you can say one dimensional array. If you declare, that is matrix double subscripted value means double square bracket, that means this is two-dimensional array. It is known as two-dimensional array. So in this way, and when you use this square bracket n number of times, then it is known as multi-dimensional array. I hope you understand this. Now let us continue with this declaration. Okay, so have a look on this. Here we declare as is a variable name, that means you students, and we are going to store the 5 value in this variable as. Okay, so how it will store? Now how the array value will be accessed? See, this is the size of your array which is used to store the elements, means the single value is known as the element of your array. Okay, so here how the value will be stored? That means as 0, as 1, as 2, as 3, as 4. So the index is always means every element must refers by an index. So this is known as index of your array element, and this index always start with 0. Okay, and end with 1 less than your size, whatever the size you define over here. So the last index number is less than that number. You are declaring what size you are declaring over here? 5. And what index we are getting at the end of your element? That as 4. Okay, so whatever, suppose you are having 5 subject, you are going to store the value of 5 subject in this array variable. So the first value, suppose if you got 60 in first, 70, 80, 85 and 90. Okay, so you got 60 in subject 1, 70 in subject 2, 80 in subject 3, and 85 in subject 4, and 90 in subject 5. So in this way, the value will be stored in your array variable. Every value is known as the element of an array, and every element refers by an index number, and this index number always start with 0 and end with the less than of its whatever the size you are defining over here. Okay, so less than the n minus 1. We can say that the index always start with 0 up to n minus 1. Okay, so let's see how you declare the variable and how you can access the elements of an array. Now declaration of array variable. So here let us have a look on syntax, that is data type. You have to first specify the data type, then array variable name, and the size of your array, which is always in a square bracket, which is also known as subscripted value. Okay, so for example, if you want to store the employee ID number, suppose in a company, if you want to store the employee ID number, so in that case what you have to do, you have to declare int employee ID So how many employees ID you are going to store in this variable? So suppose there are 10 employees, so you have to declare the size of 10. Means whatever the size you define here, you can able to store that much value, okay, in this variable. So try to understand what is array. Array allows you to store more than one value in a single variable. And up to this, what you had did what you had declared in your program. So you had declared one variable for one value, but array allows you to declare the variable for multiple values. Means a single array variable can hold multiple values, and for that you have to declare the array variable with its size. Okay, so the size is always defined in a square bracket. Okay, so now employee ID. Suppose there are 10 IDs: 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109 and 110. Okay, so these are the 10 IDs, okay, of employees in your company. So how you can store this ID in a single variable? So add this array variable EMP ID. The first value is assigned to the index 0. Then EMP ID, the second value is assigned to the index number, okay, 1, and up to so on. And the last is EMP ID and 9. Okay, so this index number means index number always start with 0 up to less than n minus less than n. Whatever the size you declare over here, less than that size, means 9 is less than 10. Okay, now how to access the array variable? See, when you store this value in this variable, what will happen in the memory location? Okay, see, you know that when you declare a single variable int x, okay, so somewhere in the memory location some address will be assigned to this variable. Okay, so in memory location, suppose there is one address 101. Okay, so you know that it occupies 2 bytes in the memory location. So what you have to declare over here? So what the compiler will do? Compiler will assign 2 bytes to this variable x. Okay, so 2 bytes, that is 101, 102. Okay, so these 2 bytes are assigned to variable x, and whatever value you assign to the variable, it will stored on that place. Okay, but in case of array, what will happen? Okay, so see here, when you declare the array variable in such a way, what will happen? Okay, so it store this value in a sequential manner, means in a sequence manner, in a continuous manner में वो क्या करेगा, इस value को store करेगा. Suppose if it took the first location of your memory, that is 1000, second is 1002, 1004, 1006, 1008. Why? Because 1000 and 1001 is for first value, first variable, second, third element, fourth element. So the first location, the variable name is EMPID at 0. Okay, so this is address. Okay, this is array elements, and what you are storing over here, 101. This is value of your array element. So in this way, the the value of array elements will stored in a memory location. Now let us have a look on a declaration and initialization of array variable. Okay. So declaration and initialization of array variable. Suppose if you declare int x as 5. Okay, so x is an array variable and 5 is the size of your array elements. Suppose And if you want, see, if you want to assign the value at the time of declarations, you can do that also here. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to assign the value at the time of declaration. So in this way you can assign. So value must be assigned by using assignment operator. Okay, so when you want to assign the value at the time of declaration, which is also known as compile time declaration, so that time you need to use assignment operator. But if you want to assign the value to the variable array variable at the time of runtime, so that time you can use scanf statement. Okay, so here suppose first value, second, third, fourth and fifth. So it will automatically assign the first value, that is x0, 10, x1, 20, x2, 30, x3, 40, x4, 50, x5. Okay, so 5, sorry. So here 50, up to 50 you will assign the value like this. But if you want to assign, suppose if you assign the value less than its size, what will happen? Means if you assign 3 values only, so what about the rest of the elements? Means this value will assign to x0, this value will assign to x1 and this value will assign to the element x2. And what about x3 and x4 element? So it will, the compiler will assign 0 to such kind of variable. Means x0 is 10, x1 is 20, x2 is 30 and x3 and x4 is 0. Right? But if you are not assigning the value and you access this variable without assigning a value, then that time the compiler will assign garbage value to the array variable or to the array elements. Okay, so garbage value is nothing but the dummy value जो हमारे किसी काम की नहीं है. So here you should assign the proper value to the array elements. Okay, so here you can suppose if you want to assign the value at the runtime, so you need to use scanf statement. So in that case you have to use scanf statement and you are assigning the array variable for as of 5 size. So %d, 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 %d means you have to write the control string at 5 times for 5 values, and the first value will store at the address of x0, address of x1, address of x2, address of x3 and address of x4. So in this way you can assign the value to the array elements at runtime by using scanf statement. So in my next lecture I am going to explain you how to access this array elements in the program. Okay, and how you can see if you don't want to write such a lengthy statement in your program, you can use for loop for assigning value to the array elements. See, suppose if the value of x is 3, so you have to declare one variable for loop, that is I. So for I is equals to 0, okay, I less than 3, I plus, and the scanf statement will execute exactly 3 times, okay, every time for each element. Means suppose the value of I is 0. Now here the value is, scanf is used to read the value. So here it read the value for x0. Then the control of a program pass to check the condition. It update the value, that is 1. 1 is less than 3. Condition true. Then it will read the value for x1. Again it pass to check the condition, means first is increment. That's after 1 it will become I becomes 2. 2 is less than 3. Yes. Then it will read the value for x2. Then again it pass to check the condition. Now I becomes 3. 3 is less than 3. No. The condition becomes false and the loop will terminate. So in this way you can read the value by using for loop. Similarly you can print the value by using for loop. Suppose if you want to print these values, so what you have to do? You have to specify the printf statement. Okay, and here in printf we are not using ampersand sign. So this printf statement executed actually 3 times. Okay, for x0 first time it will print the value of x0, second time x1, and it will print the value of x2. Okay, I hope you understand this assigning the value and accessing the array elements in C programming. In my next lecture I am going to explain you some more programs of array elements. Okay, thank you.